Boys and girls, this is Kosala, also known as Marventus, bringing you yet another cast in the third-person perspective, downloaded from Starcraft2replays.org, I believe. And here we have in the top right-hand corner Mr. Poi, versus the bottom left-hand corner Mr. Dirge the Protoss. This is a Diamond League game. And we are going to see how this unfolds. I have not seen this match. It has received a large amount of popular ratings. Apparently there is exciting baneling play to be seen here, and since that is such an original concept against Protoss, I thought I would cast this to see how we go. Let us get a production tab up and running. We've got pylons coming out, drones coming out, and overlords. It's exciting stuff. Let's see how the droning is going. Pretty damn decent. We have just started the game now. Right, there's one row and a little bit of drones popping out here. We are on... what map is this? This looks like Zelnaga Caverns. An excellent map to be playing on. Many people's favorite. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to comment below and tell me off. Now, Mr. Dirge the Protoss. Corona boosting out a probe. As indeed he should be. We have an overlord slowly making his way across the map. We have a pylon, rather a probe being chased by a drone is the word I'm looking for. A drone, that's right. Right, and the probe is making his way into his base. Are we going to see some sort of peculiar pylon play? No, a little game of cat and mouse happening here between probe and drone. But that probe was pulled off the line for quite a while chasing down this drone. First gas going up now and already saturated with a couple of drones. This probe now hanging out in the middle. Over here we have a drone making his way south and the overlord heading down in his nice slow pace as well. What is this? We've got a spawning pool going up at 14 supply. So far things seem pretty standard over here. What is this probe up to? Is he going to pop down a pylon there? No, he's doing a little messing around, turning round and round and round, trying to stop that expansion from going up, delaying the expansion, as indeed Protoss tend to do quite a bit these days. Let's see what we have here. We have a gateway going up at the base, along with the cybernetic score, completing that warlord. The drone has made it out, however, and things are a-okay on that front. Let's take a look at the economy. Yep, looking solid over there. The income tab. We have our Protoss player just slightly ahead of the Zerg player, but he is keeping up. Let's get back to the production tab. My FPS is going up and down here for some odd reason the last couple of days worth of casting. Not really sure what's going on. I've got nothing happening in the background, but there you go. This probe is still running around the base looking for something crafty to do. Is he gonna be able to get something off here? I think we're just moments away from a couple of Zerglings chasing this down. But this probe has had free reign to run around, and here we've got an evolution chamber coming up. That is a very early evolution chamber indeed. I wonder what that's about. Let's wait and see. Is he preparing for some aerial defense? It's hard to say. I've actually never seen an evolution chamber go down that fast. So spawning pool followed by evolution chamber before the hatchery and before the queen. Metabolic boost now being... and there's the queen actually. Metabolic boost now being researched. The probe finally out of the base. Now being chased down by a couple of Zerglings. Is he going to make it? Probably not. I have a drone coming in for the right hand side here as well. Is that for a hatchery? It could very well be. There is some really strange nonsense going on with my FPS, fellas. I do apologize for that. The hatchery comes down. No, it doesn't. It's being interrupted by the probe, who just gets in there and delays it for a couple of seconds. But the Zerglings have managed to catch up and take it down. That pylon is going down as well. I think 2 Zerglings will be plenty to make that happen, along with some assistance from the drone. Or am I wrong about that? Is that pylon going up? And it was cancelled in the absolute last second. Now the drone is free to put down the hatchery at 25 supply. Relatively late, but then again, it isn't that unusual for Zerg to expand a little bit late these days, just because of the shenanigans that are happening by our Terran and Protoss opponents, as we know. Now, for those of you who've been following on my cast, you know that I'm a Zerg player, and I do first-person casts of my progress through the Bronze League, which, by the way, is going rather nicely. Right, yeah, and it has been an educational experience both for myself and apparently also for my viewers. But every now and then I do like to break it up by showing some higher level casts and some pro casts of great Zerg play. which is what we're doing right here. Dirge now up with 3 gateways. 3 gateways now up and running at the 5.5 minute mark or 6 minute mark. Droning looking solid, and he is going for an expo. Going for an expo with some pylons. And is that a cannon? That's a pylon as well. A minimal force protecting it, but nonetheless good enough for this current time. Here we have Poi coming in to take a little look around and see what on earth is going on here. He does see the expansion, pokes at it a little bit, but is chased away by the 3 sentries. This is not a lot of units, but at this stage in the game, with Poi focusing on his economy, there is really no particular danger. Right, so this is more than enough to hold off any Zergling forays that come charging in. What's going on here? We've got a ton of Zerglings at the Zelnaga tower, keeping an eye on what's what. And here we have a robotics facility and yet another, the 4th gateway now going up as well. Some serious expanding going on here from Dirge. Are those Zerglings on their way south? Yes, indeed they are. What can we expect to see here? Is this a bit of a foray? It looks to be a bit of a foray coming in now. Nice force field there, perfectly placed between the buildings to hold off that initial surge. Heading towards the ramp, 1 zealot in the way. Is there going to be another force field coming down? There isn't. That's a really nicely placed force field there. Very, very nice. Trying to take down that expansion, but not going to happen. That's going up. And another 2 force fields blocking off the Zerglings now, and they are now under the mercy of those sentries. Is the Zealot down? I think the Zealot is indeed down. 1 more sentry almost about to go down. Few more Zealots popping out, and that's another sentry down. This is starting to get expensive for Dirge here. Sentries falling everywhere, but 3 Zealots standing. The buildings are now up, and this batch of Zerglings might potentially run around. No, a beautifully placed shield there, or rather a what do we call that? I've forgotten completely what that is. Right, and here we are, more Zealots spawning in, and the rush has been staved off. It has been staved off. Poi now making a bit of a... Oh no, I was going to say he's making a bit of a retreat, but actually he's coming in with even more Zerglings. And we've got a batch of 1 row of Zealots. This should be more than sufficient to hold this off. We have... the Protoss is chrono boosting out a couple of probes. Why I keep calling those pylons, I don't know. And once again, my FPS has dropped to 2. Very, very odd indeed. Here come a whole bunch of probes from the main base to saturate the expansion. And the Zerglings are holding themselves in midfield here. Or are they? They are coming in for yet another foray. Poi being very aggressive here. Not letting my Dirge rest at all. Attacking those probes now. Another shield going down. Force field rather. And there's a little bit of backing off there from Poi. Not able to really get around that in a good way. The probes are safe. So some very nice force fielding here from Dirge just to keep his probes alive and his units alive. Some excellent work there. A cannon now going up. Very significant. There'll be little play here on this side from the Zerglings from now on because of that cannon. Nice wall off across the board here, and now the units are maintaining a sort of semi-organic wall off at the only choke point coming into the probes. Some nice thinking going on here from Dirge, some experienced Protoss play. In the meantime, we've got Poi hanging out with his Zerglings in the front, and we have an observer heading to the base. Now, is there anything that can spot this observer right now? No, there is not. A banelings nest has gone up for Poi, and his expansion is now starting to get a little bit better droned up. Not at all sure what's going on with my FPS. I'm gonna need to examine this more closely afterwards, because this is like the second cast I've done where my FPS has rapidly dropped to 1 or 2. Very, very, very strange. And now we've got some nice Zergling and Baneling play happening down here. Some Baneling harassment against Protoss. We don't see this a lot. Some nice force fielding going on here, but nonetheless those Banelings do get in there. Oh, that looked painful. Took down the entire batch of Zealots there with a few well-placed Banelings. Now that is not something you see a lot. That's very original stuff indeed from Poi here. Using Banelings to counter Protoss. That is not something we see a lot of. Generally the conventional model is Roaches and Hydras all the way against Protoss opponents, but look at this. This is some nice work here. Those Zealots had absolutely no chance against the Banelings. In come a few Zerglings there to do a little bit of damage. They're running around the probes, not actually attacking them. Wonder what's going on there. Is there going to be more banelings morphing in here? Yes, there is. There is more banelings morphing in here. And over here at the expansion, we see even more zerglings coming in. There are just 3 zealots in play right now, and there's a huge amount of zerglings. This looks like it'll be enough to take down a couple of those zealots. One of them running in the background here. In the meantime, do we have... The banelings have actually been taken out by sentries. Did not manage to do enough damage here on the mineral line, but nonetheless, zerglings over here doing some great work. An immortal being taken down as well. This is some fascinating play, boys and girls. Poi using a zergling baneling counter to Protoss. Something I have not seen in any game I've looked at so far. But this is certainly giving me some interesting ideas. Alright, now as long as the Protoss is not going to air units, this is looking like a fairly robust counter. This forge looks like it's about to go down. Yes, it is. The forge goes down as well. There's a gaping hole in the wall in the Protoss here. Now we have even more zerglings and banelings coming in. Is a baneling counter to zealots. Nice force fielding happening there, keeping that hole sealed up, but that is not going to last forever. We have another hole over here that needs to be sealed up as well. A probe coming out there to drop a gateway, but it's never going to be concluded in time. Even more banelings coming in, nicely shielded off here by the force fields. But nonetheless, this is looking interesting. I would imagine that a lesser Protoss would have given up at this point. There's some excellent force fielding work going on here by Dirge. Trapped his sentry there a little bit there though. And more zerglings coming in. Will those sentries survive? Yes, they do look like they've survived another rush. And yet the endless swarm of zerglings continues. Even more zerglings coming in now to take down those sentries. Another force field, the second one going up there as well. Some zealots being morphed in. Do we have even more baneling play coming up? Right now it's just zerglings attacking everything inside. Big gaping hole there. Once again, that probe goes down as well. Oh, there's a space right there allowing for some entry into the main base. These probes look like they might be in a lot of danger. We have one zealot doing a heroic, 2 zealots there in the middle trying to keep things at bay, and they do successfully manage to take down those zerglings. This is some exciting work indeed. In the meantime, probing going a little bit slowly in the expansion. The main base, it looks nicely probed up. Here we have a tech up to a lair, and there's even more zerglings rushing in to this continued harassment against the Protoss. So it's zergling play all the way, and it looks to be extremely effective. We have another zealot being taken down there. Force field off the ramp, but nonetheless that probe disappears as well. Great harassment here from Poi. These probes have no chance at all. Even more banelings coming in from the side. Zealots and probes disappearing en masse. And it looks like this Nexus might potentially be sniped down. Or will it just manage to save it in the very last second? We've got a handful of zealots, a probe, and a couple of sentries there. Another gateway going down to bridge the hole, but there are more zerglings coming in. How is Dirge going to manage this? Is he going to vary this up with a couple of more units? He's finally placed a zealot there in his blank space. But those zealots are enough to take down these zerglings along with these sentries. And there's even more zerglings coming in from behind here. Where did they come in from? Missed that completely. That's another probe disappearing over there. There is no mining going on whatsoever in this expansion, and it looks like it will be pulled down any second. But nonetheless, Dirge doing some heroic defending. Huge amounts of sentries, a few zealots. This is turning out to be quite the dramatic game. What is this going down here? A pylon going down at last. The gateway finally coming up there again to block the hole. And so far, Dirge seems to have managed to hold his own. Now we've got a pylon going up here to block the back end entry as well. But there are more banelings on the map running around the place. This is a very, very innovative bit of play here from Poi. Right, now starting to mineral up on his expansion as well. We have an observer keeping track of things in the main base, so he does know what's going on. However, it is becoming a brutal counter. We have even more banelings running in now towards the sentries and the stalkers over here. Are they going to make it? Those zealots going down in a hurry. The sentries going down in a hurry. Holy noodle cakes. That's another half the army annihilated by 5 banelings. This is very interesting play indeed. Force fields going down just a tad bit late there. More stalkers now being warped in. to try to counter this Zergling Baneling play. The Observer doing a little run around. More Lings being popped out here, and still there is no change up from the side of Poi. We've got now a Spire coming up finally and a Roach Warren. So it looks like the tech up is imminent. Some Overlord sniping going on here. Nice work there from Dirge, who's now heading out to a bit of a counter of his own to see if he can stop this onslaught. Of course, having full view of what's going on in the base through this Observer, which Poi has still so far not managed to spot or do anything about. More Zerglings coming in to deal with these Stalkers and Sentries, but I think this batch of Zerglings will not be enough to manage it. Yes, they pull out a few Banelings hanging out here in the back, waiting for the enemy to come closer. Will these be morphing in as well? Let's wait and see. Running off bit to the corner here. No Baneling morph happening yet. Here comes the attack. More Banelings coming in. Those Stalkers disappearing in a really big hurry. The Queen getting involved as well, and that Zealot coming down. Now it looks like a bit of a rush. The force fields now keeping out the outgoing Zealots as well. And oh, nice work there by Dirge. Are those drones going to go down? It looks like there's a huge force field barrier running everywhere. Those drones are doomed indeed. They're going down in a hurry. Half the drone count now disappearing, the other half going to be taken down as well. Nice counterattack here from Dirge. In the meantime, what has Poi got to deal with this with? Is that hatchery going to go down? It looks like it is. A successful counter here from the Dirge. And Poi has left the game at this point. Some intriguing play there indeed happening from Dirge and Poi. This is the first time I've actually seen anyone try to counter Protoss with Lings and Banelings. If anything, perhaps the tech switch to Muta should have happened slightly earlier, but or even gone the other way and amassed a massive Ling Baneling army. That was some interesting stuff. So thank you for uploading the replay there, but it was an exciting thing to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Comment below.